We are licensed therapists, but we probably aren't your therapist. While we may share helpful information about mental health, it is best to form your individual care plan with your own mental health professional. If we are your therapist, hi. While this podcast shares nuggets of wisdom about mental health, we are sharing many pieces of who we are outside of the therapy room and doing a lot of yapping about nonsense, our own healing work, and some about sex and dating. If you feel listening to this podcast may interfere with your work in therapy, please refrain from doing so. While we're on the subject, any notes from our dating lives have been changed to protect the privacy of our partners and ourselves. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the first episode of the Healing Journey podcast. I'm Ilyse Kennedy.
And I'm Lindsay Camp.
This is the podcast where two therapist besties talk about their healing journeys and interview healers who have helped along the way. So according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, to heal is to make something sound or whole or free from injury or disease, to restore something to health or make it well again, to overcome an undesirable condition or mend it, to patch up or correct a breach or division, to restore something to its original purity or integrity, to become free from injury or disease, or to return to a sound state. There can be many negative connotations that come from the word heal, like insinuating someone or something is broken. And the term healing journey was coined by Queen icon legend Whitney Wild Rose of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and adopted by us to mean an ongoing process of returning to oneself through grieving and, of course, whimsy. I'm so excited to interview our first guest. Lindsay Camp is a licensed marriage and family therapist and founder of a group practice, Austin Teen Therapy. She's worked with teens and their families for over a decade, and as a group practice owner, she is passionate about aiding new therapists as they step into the business side of healing. She's also my co-host, best friend, and work wife, who I describe as a high-low gal, though not high at the moment, because we are recording in the morning, and we have some sensibilities about us. The high being a novice birder, and the low being a connoisseur of the reality television arts, though who amongst us is not? Lindsay, welcome to your show.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
So excited to have you and to be doing this. Do you remember when we got the message to collab and get a little podcast going?
Was it Rev Meg? Was that the first?
It was Rev Meg. Do you want to? I'll tell.
We were on a work wife retreat. And when I lived in California for a brief moment, a fever dream, really. You came out to visit and we structured a work wife retreat around the Renaissance film, Beyonce.
Yes.
One of our favorite healing modalities, mushrooms.
Absolutely.
Dance parties and healers. And so this one, Rev Meg, she was talking a lot about Facebook. She was talking a lot about like community.
It was clear she thought we were influencers and it didn't seem to be coming from the other side.
That's right. She was pandering. She was pandering to
we
were presenting.
Yes.
Thank you for the message, though. Thank you for the guidance, the spiritual nudge we needed to take to the mic.
Well, first, she told us to get onto Facebook Marketplace and do some promotional work there for our businesses, and that we should collab and make a push towards Facebook Marketplace. But we took that. Sometimes the messages don't always come through correctly from the other side, and you have to take it into your own hands. And we thanked Rev Meg for her work. We thanked her team of light for their work. And we're here today, finally recording this podcast.
Yeah, so excited.
So excited. So to start out with, to orient our listeners to what we're going to be doing here, what do you remember about our meet cute as friends, becoming friends? And what was the moment you remember identifying first as my bestie?
Okay. So our meet cute, I believe you slid into my DMs.
You slid into mine.
I don't think so.
I'm not a DM slider. People slide into my DM.
I hold that truth as well. I hold that. No, I'll get in there. Either way, we decided that we needed to meet in person because professionally there was a lot of alignment. And there was a personal alignment that has been a really central piece of our friendship, and that is the Bravo Network and the Housewives, etc.
Now I know you slid into my DMs because there was a post that I had made in my stories on my professional account, which likely shouldn't have been there, about Dorinda Medley of The Real Housewives of New York.
Okay.
And you responded to that story. I remember it distinctly.
That makes
so
sense. Okay.
I've never... Okay, one time I've slid into a DM. I've slid into a DM one time.
Let the record show.
But that's it. I don't slide. I let people slide to me.
I do think that you asked me to coffee, though. I slid in and then you asked me to coffee.
That could be. That could be.
That feels right. So we met at Taco Deli, a near and dear to our hearts. Levi was there. Your
Salsadonia.
HEB sells the little containers, tubs. We love it. Thank you. Please sponsor us. Levi was present, your son.
Yes.
He was teeny tiny then.
Teeny tiny.
I just remember us gabbing, and I remember just feeling like, oh, I feel seen here. This girl gets me.
Yeah.
We see each other.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. The moment where I remember identifying as a bestie, I think it's when I told you this a little bit earlier, but when I agreed, I'm a little hard to pin down on something. A little hard to pin down. And so when you proposed sharing an office space and I agreed, that was really solidified to me. Like, oh yeah, this is like, she's a bestie. Like I'll put my name on a contract with her.
Absolutely. And how did we become companions in healing?
Okay. So I'm thinking about also that office space where I didn't actually do any real work there.
Sure.
Myself.
It was a therapist office space. A therapist. And you were using it for your practice, for your associates. Yeah.
My associates worked there. I never worked there per se, but I did do some work there.
Absolutely.
And one of those was meeting a Reiki healer there who blocked parking. And I got a text from Andy saying, hey, whose client is parked here? Please have them move. And I was like, oh, sorry, that's my Reiki healer. And she then told us that the space and myself were haunted, visited by the ghost of two dead teens. And I had to share that information with you. I had to look you in the eye and let you know that the hollow ground on which we stood was in fact very haunted.
And that the office that you didn't personally use to actually see your own clients, you did come in to use for a Reiki healing session.
Yeah, that's...
Now, what went a little bit further was that I'm pretty sure that those spirits, and I did Google and couldn't find anything about anybody who had passed in the area or in the office. But I do a little type of therapy called Samtray, where we use miniature figures to tap into the subconscious. And I do believe...
I remember this.
Yes, that at some point, those dead teens got a hold of some Samtray figurines and turned them to the back, because that was during COVID and those Samtray figurines were not in use.
Yes, so, the dead teens were playing.
Yes. Now, orient us to the present. How did you end up on this healing journey? And this is a loaded circular question, so take us top to bottom.
Okay. This particular healing journey that I'm on at the moment started, well, as a therapist, I've been like doing my own healing for quite some time. I'm going to say healing and healing interchangeably, but yeah, no, when I say healing, I mean healing. And when I say healing, I mean healing. So I've been doing the work, as we say, for a while. But it really got kicked into high gear this past year when my mother passed unexpectedly and my marriage blew up. So we needed a lot more tools in the toolkit. We needed a lot more professionals. Yeah, healing got up this year.
Do you want to orient us to some of the professionals and people who have helped along the way?
Absolutely. Let's see. So we together have seen and frequently see some folks together. So anytime we're on a trip, we're getting ourselves to a reading in Marfa. We got ourselves to some readings regularly at 8 a.m. on weekdays. We're sitting down with our dear Tara of
Heartseed Healing.
Heartseed Healing.
And she will be coming on the pod. I believe the last time we saw her, she said she worries that we see her so often that the other side won't have anything for us.
I don't remember that.
And Tara is a psychic medium who gets in touch with those who have passed on. We've gotten in touch with many of our loved ones, but do you want to speak a little to what it's been like connecting with your mom through your work with Tara?
Yeah. What really is cool to me is when it's also real. Like, it's so funny and we laugh and we're like, this is so silly and stupid. But Tara has channeled my mom in some really profound ways for me. And has been able to like share stuff with me that only my mom and I know. And has been able to offer me a lot of peace and like repair in my relationship with my mom and in her passing. My mom apologized to me from the other side, which would have never occurred on this plane, on this physical plane. Our work with her has been really, really huge for my, like, the peace around my mom's death.
It's been really special and incredible to be able to witness you in that. And I never got to meet your mom when she was in the living world. So getting to meet her on the other side and like feel her be a part of our friendship is really special. Like,
yeah,
I think one thing that we've talked about is in this stage of our friendship, it's like getting to have our like 20-year-old selves present and our teenage selves present, and connecting with your mom on the other side or witnessing you in connection with her on the other side. Like, I can feel her with us as if we're in high school and she's like witnessing our friendship, and it's so beautiful to experience.
It's been really sweet to me, the times where Tara starts to say that she's got somebody coming in, and because we now know each other so well, I'm like, oh, it's yours. That's your Grammy. Or she's like, oh, somebody's busting in here. You're like, that's your mom. I love that.
I think being therapists, we have this specific way that we were trained to view healing and trained to offer healing. What have you gained for yourself, and how has it affected your work as a therapist to experience these alternative forms of healing that really aren't recognized in Western culture?
There's so much there. So this has impacted like my work. I'm sure that you're going to have a similar answer if I ask you this question, that like this year of grief has just like broken me wide open. And like I've hit depths of my like personality, my capacity to feel that like I hadn't otherwise hit. And that has just like expanded my work so much. And I've had so many clients who have lost parents, even though I work with teenagers. Sadly, I've had so many that have tragically lost parents at young ages. And as a therapist, like we can empathize, we can, be there, we can be witness, yada, yada. But to like really know, to like really look somebody in the eye and say like, I know the pain, I know the hurt. And just like that, like huge perspective shift that you have after your loss has been really cool. And the alternative piece, I'm not recommending my clients get to psychics. I'm often offering that as an extra piece of, if that's of interest. There are ways to connect with your grief and to your loved ones that aren't prescriptive in the normal ways. And so we talk about like altars and meditations and like nature and things like that like can bridge that gap between those that have passed and those still here wanting to connect with them.
I think grief launches you into such an emotionally raw space. Like it brings you down into depths that you can't experience unless you've experienced intense grief and loss. And I know that for me, seeking those alternative forms of healing has allowed me to come to terms with, as therapists, we can't be the only support in our clients' lives. And whether we're recommending a psychic or a psychiatrist, we're building people teams of support. And I think that's one thing it's pushed me into in my work as a therapist. Like, I can't be enough for a client who's in the depths of grief,
right,
and they can build like a net to fall back on, which is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think is your view on healing, especially being in the depths of it? I know we have a lot of mantras like healing isn't linear, blah, blah, blah. But what have you realized about healing and your personal view on it?
It's been a little bit frustrating how true all of the adages are. It's like, I know exercise is good for me, and I get so annoyed every time I like do a Pilates class. I'm like, I feel better. I'm like, God, fuck. And so it just, all of the things of like, the only way through is through, and yeah, healing isn't linear, and it takes time, yada, yada. Everything that's so corny and cliche is so true. And that's been a little frustrating because I think that there's a part of me that I've used this term a couple of times in some of our like prep for this, that my mom was a seeker.
Yeah.
This woman was in and out of cults, in and out of MLM scams, in and out of nutrition stores, etc. Like, she was always looking for what was going to heal her. And I've got that in me, but it's been really interesting and eye-opening, blah, 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 that like, it's not just those things that we're reaching for. It's like, it's just in here.
Yeah. Ugh. God damn it.
No, I'm so sorry. I wish I had I wish we had the magic pill, but that's it. It's going in here.
What was your first experience like doing traditional or westernized healing work?
So westernized healing work, like therapy?
Like therapy adjacent, things that they would recommend.
I would say my first honest pass at it was like through the religion that I was raised in, and have since like shifted perspectives on. I think that was kind of my first pass at like looking inward and connecting to something larger than myself and trying to make sense of the world. And I think I got more serious about it when I started grad school and started going to therapy. I don't know why I signed up for grad school to be a therapist, having never been to therapy. Bonkers. But I started therapy, and even though my therapist was nonsense, my first therapist was nonsense. I had the buy-in on the process, and yeah, I just remember really getting a lot, again, nonsense therapist, but getting a lot from sitting down, having witness, like carving out that time for myself, et cetera, et cetera.
What was it like coming from that religious perspective and then diving into becoming a therapist and doing your own therapy work as you were becoming a therapist? Like, what was young Lynn's like in the church? That's what I want to know.
She was bought in. Young Lynn's was very bought in on this idea of a predetermined, a predestined life according to a higher power that knew the best. Like, I was fully comfortable, like, giving up, like, Jesus, take the wheel. I'll just, like, do some good things and, like, repent for my sins. That felt fine to me. But what I think was missing for me and for so many organized religions is the self-autonomous piece of choice and my own decisions and my own ideas about the world and source and et cetera, not just something prescribed by some man. And so that kind of intersected with a lot of shifts in my belief system and how I approach the work.
How has your view on healing changed throughout these past 2 years?
I think that before, like you use the word raw, and I think before this healing work, I would have wanted things more tied up with a bow and a little like more pretty and presentable. And it is truly so raw. Like I'm remembering a time you walked me through a panic attack I was having when I was in California. And I was like in the fetal position screaming, I want my mommy.
Yeah.
Which was like, that was just from, like that was like my like inner child was raging. And I think that that's been something I've had to embrace this year because I like the self-care and the healing work to kind of have like a pretty bow on it. And it doesn't.
I think we've really learned that you have to, well, we knew this because we say this all the time.
I know.
We know that you have to be in it. And sometimes it's so uncomfortable. And we know that eventually it passes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these past 2 years, more than ever, we've just had to let ourselves be in it. And sometimes there's no other cure besides just fucking being in it. And that sucks.
That sucks.
That really sucks.
It's not cute. It's
Yeah.
not fun. And it's so hard too with like daily life. Like I still have a job. Like there's still like global grief to be like felt and tended to. Like there's so much going on. Like life doesn't stop. And so you have to like fucking meld like your grief and your life into like, you have to push it together. And that's so crazy. And it's made me like not the best therapist this year in some ways, not the best business owner in some ways, not the best friend in some ways. Like it's hard. It's really hard.
It's hard. And especially when we have parts of us that can be overachievers and who have poured so much into our businesses and into our careers. It sucks to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to be the best therapist, business owner, mother this year because I just have to sit in my grief.
Sit in my grief. I would just have to wear my Brooks Marks sweatpants and cry.
What have been some of the things that you've reached for? I wouldn't necessarily call it in self-care, but what have you reached for to be in your grief or to comfort you in your grief?
So I sent one of the main pieces is friendships. So our main group chat, the Bandits, is a big piece of that for me. It's a huge anchor. Having friends to bounce off my reality, and to have that witnessed. But what I said in that group chat the other day was that I realized that I very seriously need 3+ hours a day to just sit outside. Nature, specifically the birds, have been such a piece of my healing.
Talk to me about the birds.
I can't not talk about the birds. So my family has a long lineage of engaging and appreciating nature, and we have a ton of birders in the family. So it's always been kind of a piece of the puzzle for me, but I never fully embraced it until this past year plus. And I turned in my backyard in California, I had this like hummingbird sanctuary where all the hummingbirds were there all the time. And I was constantly tending to their little sugar water
and the hummingbird helmet. We can't forget.
Yes, that's right. I was gifted a hummingbird helmet, which allows you to sit with yourself and hummingbirds about a foot from your face. And that was healing. That's magic.
That was healing. I've adorned,
sat in the helmet.
I've adorned the helmet, and it is like very magical to have a little hummingbird
It's so cool.
Come right up to your face. But the coolest thing is that I know when hummingbirds come to me now, which I've had a few like strange experiences where I'll just have a hummingbird like right outside my window if I'm working from home. And I don't have a lot of hummingbirds on my home property. Or when I was in Portland, I like opened my eyes from a nap and there was a hummingbird flitting right over my face. Like I heard a beating. And it was the beating of hummingbird wings. And I always know it's like connecting me to you and your mom, which is really lovely. And I know you recently spoke about how you've been sharing birding with the people that you love. And it's become a very connective piece for your friendships and your community. Talk to me about that.
I've gotten so much out of it. And it's been so nice to share it. So like for me, it requires me to be just like fully still and trusting and present. And so like when a hummingbird is there, if you like fuck around, it's leaving. And so I had to like really breathe through this experience and settle myself. And that just felt like such a meditative practice over and over again. And like when the impermanence of a bird being present is like they're here, then they're not here. And so it's a gift every time. And then there's this desire to like want to cling to it and like keep them there, but you can't. So anyways, I like work through all sorts of bullshit when I'm out there with the birds. But what's been really neat is it's connected me back to my family in some really sweet ways. And then with friends. So I'll often, if you're coming over to visit me, I'm inviting you to lay in a hammock, smoke a joint with me, look at the birds. And there's a really great app called Merlin. If anybody's interested in getting to the birds, you can do a little sound identification. It tells you what birds are in the area. It's really cool. But yeah, it's been a neat way of, cause I think we know this, right? Like nature's so healing, and to be another connection spot, a bridge between nature and healing and my community, my friends, my family, to be able to pull that together just feels really special. Really, really special.
There's also like an excitement of, I think some of what we've done together is gotten ourselves to different locations to do some healing work. Of course, there's been Joshua Tree, San Diego, Marfa, any place else I'm forgetting. But when you go to different landscapes, there's different birds at every landscape, and it's exciting to orient to the landscape by seeing who comes on by.
I'm thinking of a picture you took of me, and I'm wearing a vintage nightie.
Absolutely.
Tall white socks. And I have my binoculars out. We're in Marfa. We're Marfa.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for the shrooms to kick in and looking at the birds. That's my final form.
Definitely.
Very drug forward.
Very drug forward. But there's been a lot of research on the benefits. So talk to me about some of your most profound healing experiences.
There's pieces of this one that I want you to tell because it's hysterical. But in a nutshell, there was a time when we were in a residentially zoned neighborhood atop a small hill doing some energy and Reiki work with a woman in a Prada bucket hat. And I remember at the end, and you and I both remember this differently, but I'm going to tell my story. I remember you had gotten some really profound messages around some transitional pieces of your life. And I remember holding you as we cried and rocking side to side. And for some reason that just like stands out to me. It wasn't directly my healing, but yeah, that just felt like such an important piece to me.
This is something really cool that I think you're bringing up, which is we get pieces of our own healing through being witness to the healing of others.
Absolutely.
Whether that comes in the form of a Reiki healer in a Prada bucket hat in the middle of Joshua Tree, or whether that comes from our clients. And of course, when we're talking about healing side by side with our clients. Like, we're staying in the space of therapy is for the benefit of our clients, but it is also a relationship.
Yeah.
And being in the depths of grief, I've seen a lot of parallels between my own healing work and the work of my clients, and witnessing their healing has impacted me and my own system. And just like witnessing your healing and doing some of our healing work together in our friendship has healed parts of me. Like, I had texted you one day, like, you healed so much of my attachment shit, crying emoji.
Same, crying emoji, crying emoji, crying emoji.
Because I have been working through some really deep healing of my attachment system. But it just hit me one day, like, how much the consistency in our friendship healed a lot of that for me. And I think we don't give enough recognition to that within friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. To kind of play on that some more, the ways that I have been able to like return to myself with like not just the loving witness of you with the non-judgmental, but like your delight in my wacky, like the stuff that makes me has been so healing. And so like when I think about our like up until 4 a.m. dance parties or singing in the car or dressing up in our outfits, like all of that is stuff that like as a child, I was singing, I was dancing, I was playing, I was dressing up, I was outside. And to do that in a friendship and have it so celebrated has been so cool to me. It's like the ultimate permission to be yourself. And that feels just invaluable.
So the title of these first 2 episodes is Healing Through Friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing that's been really powerful for me is that when I first met your high school best friend, Marissa, who is in our Bandits group chat.
Though not active.
No, I believe she has us silenced, which is fair.
Absolutely.
It's a very active chat. But then my best friend from LA, Ilyse, who's known me since I was 19, and you've met Ilyse, we have like welcomed each other into these friendships. And I remember my first experience, like really getting to witness yours and Marissa's friendship made me feel like I was witnessing like this high school part of you, and you getting to be with me and Ilyse and just welcomed into that friendship made me feel like I was getting to show you that like 19-year-old me. And so even though we met each other later in life, it feels like we know each other on this deeper level. And it's been so special to like share those friendships and welcome each other in.
I'm thinking about all of our parallels. So we're the same age. We do the same job, which is kind of how we met. We both are now divorced. Well, I'm not quite divorced yet, but in process.
In process.
Always in process. Yeah, there's so many things that are so the same, and then so many differences that are, again, celebrated and seen. And so special.
What's been your favorite, some of our greatest hits of some of your favorite healing experiences that we've had together?
Mm-hmm. So again, Sarah on the Hill was a top one.
What about
jog me.
seeing Waxahachie?
Music, always music. So we've done a bunch of shows together this past. You've done a bunch of shows.
I've done a bunch of shows. Sometimes I can get you the push. That one in particular, the day that Tiger's Blood came out, which has been a very important record in our friendship. I believe it came out under a full blood moon.
Oh shit.
Yes.
I believe that.
And I texted you and said, I'm listening to tiger's blood under the full blood moon.
Were we also menstruating?
I wasn't going to say it, but
sorry.
I believe it to be true.
I believe
that to be true. And I said, I think I'm manifesting something. Have you listened to this yet?
And the answer was yes.
The answer was yes. And that was the first ever show that you actually sent my way and said, I'm getting us tickets. Let's fucking go. And that record has been a very important record in our friendship.
Oh, so good.
And of course, Cowboy Carter has been essential for our healing process.
We've played Cowboy Carter upwards of 100 times through together. I can say that confidently.
Definitely.
We listened to it all the way to Marfa and back.
All the way to Marfa and back. That was a 7 something outlet ride.
There and back.
Yes.
Yeah. That one was so important because as I was moving back to Texas and leaving my marriage, Beyonce's country album really helped me embrace my country roots and parts. And so that just felt so cool to be able to like collect her again.
What's it been like becoming a divorced queen?
Oh, girl. Well, thank you for carving the path and showing me a little bit of how that would look.
Unhinged.
You prepped me to meet my unhinged parts with grace. I was with my previous partner for 13, 14 years. And so I'm a totally different person now entering singledom than I was when I was 22-ish. And it's been really fucking cool. Like there's the aches and the pains and like that this fucking sucks. And there's been so much tragedy. And loss, but it has been so fucking cool. And I feel more empowered, more myself, more confident.
I think at first I was in a big shame space with it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially being a therapist and feeling like my marriage had failed. And then once I moved through the shame with a lot of fucking healing work, I was really proud of how brave that is. I think it's really scary to end a marriage because these are the partners we've sought to heal some of our family attachment shit through relationship. And then to know that you have to be on your own without that anchor is scary at first. And then I think it moved me to a place where I have a lot more to give to clients because of what I did. And it doesn't feel like a failure. It feels like a huge turning point for me and a huge sign to all the healing work I put in because actually I was staying in the relationship because I was scared.
I resonate with that. Yeah, this idea of like time being lost or it being a waste or anything isn't ever true.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's all, again, we're always in process and those were integral pieces of our journey up until that point. And then even in the leaving of it, that was a big piece. Yeah, there's some rage that I have every once in a while where I'm like, fuck, like I gave you all my youth for free. But yeah, you're right. Those were choices that we made partially to heal some of our shit.
Yeah.
Now that it's healed.
Bye. So as we're wrapping up, I want to do a little, I think we're setting this as a pod tradition.
Okay.
So you'll be the first.
Okay.
So give us a marry, fuck, kill. Birding, marijuana, and Bravo.
How dare you? How dare you?
Gotta hit you with the tough ones.
Okay. I'm going to marry birding. I'm going to take a vow to be with birding forever.
It's gorgeous.
Even though we know that marriages and unions can end, I'm gonna
Got faith in that one.
I'm gonna marry birding, and I won't be killing either of the two.
Okay.
I can't. I could kill marijuana. Of course I could. Of course.
Casey Musgraves did.
Yes, of course.
Post-divorce.
Yeah. Deeper well. I could find a deeper well.
Yes. But not at this
However I might be.
Not at this time. But we respect Casey's decision and we're proud of her.
Absolutely.
We're proud of her.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Go girl. I won't be.
Okay.
At this particular time and place. And I won't be giving up Bravo anytime soon. It should also be said that we have matching Bravo tattoos.
Right.
Bravo's deep in there. So I'm gonna be fucking Bravo, marrying birds, and keeping
And fucking marijuana. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that's our show.
Thank you so much.
You can find us online at thehealingjourney.com and on Instagram at thehealingjourney. You can get in touch with us at thehealingjourney@gmail.com. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and consider leaving a review. If you have already, thank you. You can find us on all socials at The Healing Journey. You can find us online at www.thehealingjourney.com.